With Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue starting in Northwest Arkansas, I thought that it would be a good time to do a case that involved motorcycles. So on May 12th, 2022, a group of motorcyclists from Louisiana were traveling westbound on Interstate 40 in Crawford County, Arkansas. At the same time, 29-year-old Ivan Santos from Norman, Oklahoma, was also in Crawford County. It turns out that Ivan Santos had been drinking that day and he got on Interstate 40 traveling east in the westbound lane. So he was heading in the wrong direction with the flow of traffic. Ivan Santos was driving a 2011 Chevrolet pickup in the westbound lane, traveling east, like I said, and he missed several vehicles, or they missed him. But Ivan Santos struck a group of 6 motorcycles. Now, I don't know how fast the motorcycles were traveling or how fast the truck was traveling, but the speed limit is 75 miles per hour on Interstate 40. If they were each traveling 70 miles an hour, that would have been a collision at 140 miles per hour. But really, a collision at any speed is a terrible thing. So I cannot imagine the fear that the motorcyclist must have felt when they were unable to get out of the way and were eventually struck by this truck that was like a missile heading right for them. There were 6 motorcycles. One of them happened to have a passenger. So that was 7 people that were hit by this vehicle. 3 of those people were pronounced dead at the scene. The victims in this accident were Leonard Lamar Jr. and Patricia Lamar from Slidell, Louisiana, and Melinda Shano from Terryton, Louisiana. 4 other people were taken to the hospital to be treated. So not only were there 7 motorcyclists involved in the accident, but Ivan Santos also had a passenger in his vehicle. The 4 motorcyclists that were taken to the hospital were treated and released that same day, but the passenger in Ivan Santos's vehicle was seriously injured. That person suffered several broken bones and had other injuries. That passenger was so seriously injured that they spent over a week in the hospital getting treatment for their injuries. Police were able to smell alcohol on Ivan Santos's breath at the time they responded to the accident, and Ivan Santos first did admit to drinking, but then switched it. According to Ivan Santos's passenger, they had been using methamphetamine and taking pills all day long. So either way you look at it, he was clearly under the influence at the time of the accident. Eventually, a warrant was issued for the arrest of Ivan Santos. He was charged with 3 counts of negligent homicide, 4 counts of attempted negligent homicide, 1 count of second-degree battery, and DWI. Of course, the negligent homicides were all for the motorcyclists that were killed and injured in the accident. I believe that the battery charge pertained to Ivan Santos's passenger. On June 12th, 2022, Ivan Santos was released from the Crawford County Detention Center on a $350,000 bond. I don't think that I have seen this in Arkansas before, but Ivan Santos actually pled guilty to the charges. But with his guilty plea, he didn't get a certain sentence. He was actually sentenced by a jury. Most plea bargains that I see, somebody pleads guilty to a crime and they are accepting a certain amount of time, but this one was just different because he wasn't accepting a certain amount of time. It was being left up to a jury to set the certain amount of time. So that was the difference there. So for the first 3 charges, the 3 negligent homicides, the jury sentenced Ivan Santos to 20 years on each charge. On the next 4 charges, the 4 attempted negligent homicides, the jury sentenced Ivan Santos to 10 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. And Ivan Santos was sentenced to 1 year for the DWI. So if you're keeping count, that is 20, 20, 20, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then won. Then the jury had to decide if they wanted the sentence to be ran concurrently or consecutively. So concurrently would be that he would just serve up to 20 years in prison because 20 years is his longest sentence. Consecutively, it would be 100 years in prison. I really think the situation here, like if I was a juror, I would think 20 years doesn't seem like enough time, which was the maximum for the B felony of negligent homicide. 20 years really doesn't seem like a long time when you took 3 lives in the accident. So the only other choice is to run it consecutively. I could be wrong. Maybe the jury just felt like 100 years was a just sentence for a multitude of other reasons. I don't really know, but they did choose to have the sentence ran consecutively, meaning that Ivan Santos was sentenced to 100 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections for this wreck that he caused and the 3 lives that he took by drinking and driving and getting on the interstate, going the wrong direction, striking 7 motorcyclists that were just enjoying the freedom of riding a motorcycle down the interstate. Now, since Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue is starting, I want to take this time to remind everyone to please be safe, please be aware of motorcycles, please watch and be very careful on the road. Thank you for joining me for this video and supporting me. If you could, please subscribe and like and share. Thank you guys, and see you next time.